I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Matt, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 6 years now. We got married right after college, both of us pretty career-driven, trying to build a life together. At first, it was perfect, or at least I thought it was. We had our little routines, and I always thought Lisa was the ambitious, driven woman I fell in love with. She's a fiery, smart, sometimes bitchy type, the kind who always has a sharp comeback and isn't afraid to tell you what she thinks. Honestly, I loved that about her. She never sugar-coated anything, always spoke her mind. Things started to change a few months ago. Not big, obvious signs, but enough to stick out if you looked closely. She'd start working late more often, sometimes claiming it was important meetings or project deadlines. I'd ask her what she was working on. She'd brush it off or tell me she didn't want to talk about work stuff after hours. But I noticed she started dressing differently to go to work, and her phone became a fortress. Locked screens, secretive texts, that kind of stuff. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I also couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Then came our anniversary. We planned a nice dinner, just the two of us, something I thought was supposed to be special. I'd even booked a weekend getaway for us to celebrate properly. Lisa seemed a little distracted that day, snapping at me a few times over small things, but I figured maybe she was just stressed or tired. We went out, had a good dinner, but I noticed she kept checking her phone. When she finally excused herself to the bathroom, I couldn't help but glance at her messages. There were a few new notifications, and I saw one from a name I didn't recognize, Jason. And the message was just a simple, "Can't wait to see you tonight." My stomach sank. I stared at it, trying to make sense of it. Who the hell was Jason? And why was she texting him like that on our anniversary? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept going over everything in my head, her odd behavior, the late nights, the secretive phone calls. I was trying to tell myself I was paranoid, but deep down I knew something was definitely wrong. I felt a mixture of anger, confusion, and that sick feeling that maybe I had been blind this whole time. Had I missed the signs? Was I just too stupid or too blind to see what was really going on? I kept questioning whether she'd been cheating on me for months, or if it was just a one-time mistake. But honestly, I knew it wasn't just a slip-up. Something bigger was happening, I could feel it. And I had to find out what. The next day I decided I couldn't just sit around and stew in my head anymore. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. I started looking through her phone when she went to work, just a quick peek, nothing crazy. I figured maybe I'd find something concrete, a text, a photo, anything that would tell me what I was really dealing with. And what I found hit me like a punch in the gut. There were messages, dozens of them, from Jason. All of them flirtatious, some pretty explicit. They weren't just, "Hey, how was your day" kind of stuff. No, they were more like secret codes, inside jokes, plans to meet up, talk about their special nights, and even sneaky little sexts. She told me she was working late that night, but I saw her messages from the night before, saying she was with her boss, and that she was so glad it was finally happening. I read it over and over, my mind trying to process how I didn't see it before. It wasn't just the texts. I found receipts for hotel bookings, things I thought were just business trips, but the dates matched up with nights she said she was working late or out with friends. I felt like my world was collapsing. I never thought Lisa, the woman I trusted with everything, would be capable of this kind of betrayal. For a second, I was overwhelmed with rage. That fiery, betrayed feeling that makes your stomach turn. How could she lie to me like that? How could she pretend everything was normal? I didn't want to just confront her without proof. I needed to be sure, so I kept digging. I checked her emails, her social media, even her bank statements, anything that could confirm or deny what I'd seen. And shockingly, everything checked out. She was lying, hiding something from me. I felt a mix of heartbreak and fury like I'd never experienced before. How long had she been doing this? Was it just once, or was I blind to a pattern? The worst part was, I couldn't tell if I was just naive or if she'd been manipulating me, making me think everything was fine while she was sneaking around behind my back. I remember sitting on the edge of our bed, staring at the phone, feeling numb. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so trusting, only to find out she'd been betraying me at what was supposed to be the happiest moment of our lives, our anniversary. The intensity of that betrayal hit me hard. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew she'd lie her way out of it or spin some story to make me doubt my own eyes. Still, I couldn't hold back any longer. I had to face her. I had to hear what she had to say, and honestly, I didn't know if I was ready for the truth or if I even wanted to hear it. But I knew I couldn't pretend anymore, not after what I'd uncovered. That evening, I waited until she came home from work, trying to gather my nerves. I knew I couldn't keep hiding behind the evidence forever. When Lisa walked through the door, she was her usual cocky self, flipping her hair, giving me that sharp, bitchy smile. I could tell she sensed I wasn't exactly in a good mood, but she played it off like she had no idea. I didn't waste any time. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "We need to talk, now." Her face immediately shifted, the confident smirk faltering just a little. "What's wrong, Matt? You look like you've seen a ghost." She was trying to act innocent, like I was overreacting or imagining things, but I wasn't in the mood for her games. I pulled out my phone and put the messages right in front of her face. "Who is Jason, Lisa? Why are you texting him all this shit? Why did I find hotel receipts in your name? Were you planning to cheat on me?" Her eyes widened for a second and then she rolled her eyes, scoffing. "Oh God, here we go. You're overthinking again. That's just work stuff. You're always so paranoid. Honestly, you're making a mountain out of a molehill." She crossed her arms, trying to dismiss it, but I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore. "Work stuff? Come on, Lisa. Don't insult my intelligence. I know exactly what's going on. You've been sleeping with your boss, haven't you? Or is Jason just some guy you met at the bar?" My voice cracked with anger. I could feel my hands trembling. I'd never felt so betrayed. Her face turned icy and she snapped back. "You don't know what you're talking about, Matt. You're just jealous, insecure. You're making this all up because you're afraid of losing me." She was lying, I could tell. Her words were slippery, her tone defensive. But what really got to me was her refusal to admit the truth. She kept insisting it was nothing, just some stupid work flirtation, nothing to worry about. That she loved me, that she'd never cheat. But her eyes, her body language, they told a different story. I felt a surge of emotions, rage, heartbreak, confusion. I was fighting the urge to scream, to shake her and demand she tell me the truth. But I held back, trying to stay calm. I said, "Lisa, I looked at your messages. The hotel, the plans, all of it. How long has this been going on? Are you even sorry, or are you just gonna keep lying?" She looked cornered, her face flushed, but her tone still arrogant. "Sorry? Sorry for what? You're making this up, Matt. You're just paranoid because I work late sometimes. You think I'm cheating, but I'm not, I swear. This is all in your head," she spat, her voice dripping with disdain. But I didn't buy it. I knew she was twisting the truth, trying to guilt me or make me doubt myself. That's what she always did, manipulate, lie, spin stories so she'd come out on top. And I realized that this wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about who she really was beneath that bitchy exterior. I didn't know what to feel, heartbreak, anger, or just emptiness. At that moment, I knew everything had changed. I couldn't trust her anymore. I didn't know if I ever really did. But I knew I couldn't stay silent and let her keep lying to my face. I had to make her face her own betrayal, face the damage she'd caused. And deep down, I wondered how I was going to live with that, knowing the woman I loved had been hiding her affair behind a mask of feigned innocence. I didn't have an answer, but I knew one thing for sure. This was the beginning of the end. The confrontation left me feeling hollow, like I'd been punched in the gut, but also like I'd finally seen the truth clearly. Lisa kept up her act, insisting she was innocent, that I was overreacting. She accused me of not trusting her, of being paranoid, of ruining everything just because I found some messages. Her words dripped with venom, and I could see that she was good at twisting things, making me feel like I was the one causing the problem. But I wasn't stupid. I knew better. I saw the evidence, and it was irrefutable. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing, bouncing between anger and despair. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I could have been so blind. I was furious at her for lying, for cheating, for tearing apart what we'd built. But I was also heartbroken because I still loved her, even if she didn't love me enough to be honest. I wondered how long she'd kept this affair going, how many nights she'd spent with Jason behind my back. I replayed every moment, every little sign that now seemed obvious, and I cursed myself for not seeing it sooner. The next day, I decided I had to take a stand. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine, not with what I'd uncovered. I made a decision. I was going to confront her again, but this time I needed to be more strategic. I wanted to hear everything she had to say, get her to admit to what she'd done. I knew she'd try to manipulate me, spin her stories, maybe even cry or yell, but I was prepared for that. What I wasn't prepared for, honestly, was how cold I'd feel inside after everything came out. When she came home that evening, I was waiting for her in the living room. I didn't say a word at first. I just looked at her, knowing she sensed the storm swirling inside me. She tried to act confident, brushing past me, but I stopped her. "Lisa, sit down," I said quietly but firmly. "We need to talk. No more lies. I know about Jason. I know everything." Her eyes widened slightly, but she quickly masked it with that bitchy smirk again. She tried her usual tactic, denying, deflecting. "Matt, I don't know what you're talking about." "You're making this up to hurt me," she said, her voice icy. "You're just insecure as usual. You always think there's something wrong, but there's not. I love you. I'm not cheating on you." But I cut her off. "Don't lie to me anymore. I saw the messages. I saw the hotel receipts. I saw your plan to meet him last week at our anniversary party. Do you think I'm stupid?" Her face flickered for a second, a flash of anger, then frustration. "Fine," she snapped. "Yes, I screwed up. I was stupid, okay, but it was just sex. It didn't mean anything. I was stressed and Jason was there. And it happened. It's not like I planned to hurt you. I didn't think it would go this far." Her words stung, but I wasn't buying it. I could see right through her lies. She was trying to downplay everything, make it sound like it was just a drunken mistake, just one night. But I knew better. I knew it was more than that. That's when I felt the full weight of everything crashing down. The betrayal, the lies, the fact that she'd been sneaking around at the very moment I was supposed to be celebrating our marriage. It hit me like a ton of bricks. How I'd trusted her, how I'd believed she was faithful, only to find out she'd been manipulating me all along. And the sickest part, I wondered if I'd ever truly known her at all, or if I'd just been blind to her manipulations, playing the fool while she was out living her secret life. I didn't know what hurt more, the betrayal itself or the realization that I might have been so naive. I told her she needed to leave. I couldn't be in the same house with someone who lied so easily, who threw away everything we'd built for a moment of sex with her boss. I told her I needed time to think, to figure out what I wanted. And as she packed her bags and walked out that night, I felt a strange mix of relief and devastation. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing: I wasn't going to be a fool anymore. I was done trusting her, done believing in the fairy tale. The betrayal was done, but the damage lingered, and I was left to pick up the pieces of a life I thought I knew. The days that followed were the hardest I've ever experienced. Without her here, the house felt empty, colder somehow, like the walls were closing in on me. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I replayed everything, her lies, her betrayal, the way she thought she could just manipulate her way out of this like it was some harmless mistake. But I knew better now. Once trust is broken like that, it's almost impossible to rebuild. Every time I looked at her side of the bed, I was reminded of what she'd done, and that sick feeling of betrayal just grew stronger. I spent hours dwelling on the past, trying to understand how I missed all the signs, how I could have been so blind. I kept asking myself if I somehow deserved this, if I was just too stupid to see what was happening right under my nose. It was humiliating, really. I had always believed I was a good, trusting person, but now I felt like an idiot. Still, I knew I had to do something, not just wallow in misery. I needed to figure out what was next, how to salvage what was left of myself after this mess. One thing I realized is that I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I'd been her fool, her sucker, and I was done with that. I started seeing a counselor just to get a grip on the feelings swirling inside me. It helped a little, but mostly I just felt numb, a strange kind of numb that's worse than anger or sadness. It's like your soul just shuts down for a bit, trying to protect itself from the full weight of what's happened. I also started to put some distance between myself and friends and family, not because I didn't trust them, but because I didn't want to have to explain everything over and over. I just needed space to think. Meanwhile, Lisa kept trying to contact me, calling, texting, even showing up at the house once or twice. Every message she sent was a new reminder of what she'd done, and every time I saw her face, I felt my stomach turn. I wanted to tell her to leave me alone, that I didn't want to hear her lies or her apologies. But part of me also wanted her to see what she'd destroyed. I think she thought she could just wave her hand and make everything go back to normal, but I knew that would never happen. Trust, once shattered, is damn near impossible to fix. There was also the matter of facing the reality that she might try to come back, to pretend like nothing happened, to manipulate her way into my life again. Honestly, I didn't want that. I felt angry just thinking about how she'd lied to me for so long, how she'd played me like a fool. I kept telling myself I deserved better, something real, something honest. And part of me wondered if I'd ever find that again. Could I really move past this? Could I forgive her, or would I just carry this weight forever? The pain was real, and somehow I knew it was going to take a long time to heal from it. In the end, I made a decision. I wasn't going to chase her, beg her to stay, or try to fix a broken thing that couldn't be fixed. I owed myself that much. Instead, I was going to focus on me, rebuild what I could of my own life, figure out what I wanted from here on out. I realized that no matter how much I loved her, I deserved honesty and respect. And if she couldn't give that, then I was better off without her. The betrayal had changed everything, but it also made me see who I really was, someone who refuses to be manipulated or lied to anymore. That's the lesson I learned painfully. Trust is fragile, and once broken, you have to decide whether to rebuild or walk away. I knew now that I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay when it was. I had to start over, even if it meant facing the pain head-on. Weeks passed, and I kept my distance from Lisa. Every day was a struggle, but I forced myself to focus on work, on my friends, on trying to rebuild some sense of normalcy. I still felt the sting of betrayal, but with time, that ache became a duller, more manageable pain. I realized I had to let go of the anger and bitterness, at least to a degree, if I ever wanted to move forward. The truth was, I'd spent so much time questioning myself, doubting everything I knew, that I forgot how to trust my own instincts. Now I was trying to relearn that, trying to piece myself back together. Looking back, I see that this whole ordeal taught me something I didn't want to learn. Sometimes, people you love the most can hurt you the deepest. Lisa's lies shattered my illusions, made me question whether I ever truly knew her. But it also showed me that I was stronger than I thought. I survived the worst betrayal I'd ever experienced, and even though I still feel the scars, I know I'll come out of this a little wiser. I've come to understand that trust isn't something you take for granted. It's fragile, and once broken, it takes patience and effort to rebuild, if you even can. I've learned that sometimes the person you love can turn into a stranger, and the only way to protect yourself is to accept that not everyone is capable of being honest. You have to decide what's more important, holding on to someone who's hurt you or letting go to save your own sanity. As for Lisa, she's gone now, moved out, probably gone for good. I don't know where she is or if she regrets what she did. Honestly, I don't care anymore. What I do care about is myself. I've realized that I'm worth more than the lies and manipulation. I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who truly cares. I don't want to spend my life wondering if the person I'm with is just pretending to love me. So that's where I am now, healing slowly but surely. I still have bad days, moments where I wonder if I'll ever fully trust again. But I also have hope. Hope that I'll find someone who's worth my trust, someone who will be honest from the start, because in the end, betrayal teaches you what you really value. And for me, that's honesty, loyalty, and respect. I learned the hard way that those aren't things you can take for granted. But I also learned that I'm capable of surviving the worst, and that's something I'll carry with me forever.